You're probably here because your warm up sucks or you don't have one. But don't worry because I'm going to show you how to make it better using. In this video, we'll be discussing what a warm up is, why do it, how to do it the right way, and I'll even throw in a free warm-up routine at the cost of 1 like. I won't make you subscribe, but if you like the video enough, who knows? Maybe you'll consider it. All right, we got a lot of science to do. I'm chill and let's get into it. So what is a warm-up and why do it? The term warm-up in sport is defined as a period of preparatory exercise to enhance subsequent competition or training performance. In a systematic review that determined the effects of warm-up on physical performance, it was reported that 79% of the study showed that performance was improved after a warm-up. Now, this study didn't include esports, but since studies on gaming are fairly limited, we'll use this as a general metric for the effects of warm-up. Some of these effects include faster muscle contraction, improvements in muscle strength and power, and increased blood flow to active muscles. The takeaway is that depending on the sport or activity, as long as the body parts being used in the activity are the ones being warmed up, you will likely see improved performance as opposed to not warming up. So in our case, this will be our hands, wrist, forearm, and if you play like me at a low sense, then your whole arm. There are 2 types of warm-up. The general warm-up, which consists of things like jogging or cycling to increase the heart rate and improve blood flow. The specific warm-up incorporates movements that will be used in the sport or activity. The specific warm-up is what we'll be focusing on in this video. Although a general warm-up is important for most sports, gaming is one of the exceptions since it's not really a physically demanding activity. So most warm-ups will last anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes depending on the activity. The amount of time you warm up will differ depending on the individual. Some players need more time, some less. The objective is to feel prepared for a game, meaning your shots feel good, player movement feels sharp, and your reactions are optimal. When performing the warm-up, it is best to start slow and ramp up until you are game ready. So let's talk about this ramp-up method. This also goes by the term potentiation, which refers to activities that improve effectiveness. This part of the warm-up will see a gradual shift towards the actual sport performance and will normally involve sport-specific activities of increasing intensity. The point of this is to increase the intensity of exercise to a point at which athletes are able to perform their match activities at their maximal levels. So when you see other warm-up guides for Valorant, they typically start out with simple drills like easy bots to essentially wake up their nervous system and prepare for more difficult drills. There should never be a one-size-fits-all warm-up, but as long as you are moving your mouse for some period of time before the game, you'll see some benefits as opposed to doing nothing. What we can do is optimize the warm-up and fit the specific needs of the player. Okay, that was a lot of science, but hopefully that made sense. Before even thinking about touching your mouse, we should move our arm a bit to get the blood flowing and do a little bit of carpal tunnel prevention. I know this sounds silly to do before gaming, but trust me, if you're going to be playing for hours on end, this can save your wrists. Upon researching for this video, I found a great channel that provides information on gaming health. There is a video on their channel that demonstrates a hand, wrist, and eye warm-up that I'll link in the description. Now, I won't touch on external aim trainers like Aim Labs or Kovacs. However, I do believe that these trainers can help you improve your aim and give you a way to track your progress. In the future, I may do a video on this to track my own progress to see if it actually works. So if that's something you want to see, leave a comment down below and let me know. There are different types of aiming that are used in games like Valorant and CSGO, and we'll implement the ones that are most frequently used in game to warm up. These can be called different things depending on who you ask, but I'll categorize these in easy to understand types. First, we have tracking. This is specifically on a moving enemy or stationary object. Tracking a stationary object like a bot is an easy way to get a feel for holding the mouse and moving your wrist or arm in a consistent manner. Flicking, which can be regular or micro, is one of the most commonly used aim mechanics and one you'll spend most of your warm-up on. Micro flicks are just smaller flicks, sometimes called micro adjustments. This is used typically when your initial flick misses the target and you have to readjust slightly. You'll either use your fingertips or small wrist movements depending on your sensitivity. Spray control is an important thing to practice, but it is always better to burst, especially from the 20-meter mark and on. Spraying becomes very inconsistent at these ranges, so always tap or burst when engaging in those longer range fights. Swiping is used for those fast, large wrist or arm movements to turn around or if an object or enemy is beyond the normal flick range. So basically, if something is past that 103-degree field of view. Vertical aiming is something you don't necessarily need a lot of practice on, but since Valorant has more verticality due to certain agents, I think it's definitely worth warming up a bit. Now we can jump into the practice range. Before working on these aiming mechanics, I like to start by warming up my movement and counter strafe timing. You can do this easily by heading to the target area and aiming at the sides of the second inner circle. Start at 5 meters and counter strafe left and right without moving your mouse too much. Attempt to get a tight grouping. Once you're comfortable, switch to 10 meters and then 20 meters. I wouldn't really go past 30 meters because it gets a little harder to see the lines and get a consistent burst shot due to the weapon inaccuracy. Don't need to spend more than a minute here. For tracking, we'll start off by selecting the eliminate 50 or 100. Hit start and move around while running and keeping your crosshair centered on the head of the bot. Mix it up with random strafe patterns for about 30 seconds. Select practice and a sheriff or guardian and begin by tracking the target for a couple of seconds, counter strafing and then shooting the bot, move on to another bot immediately after and do the same for another 30 seconds. Your tracking and counter strafing should now feel pretty comfortable. Now we can move on to flicking. Head to the target area. We're going to use the damage counter bot here. In a game, we aren't always flicking horizontally every encounter, so we'll flick to the bot's head from 8 different starting points. Start at the top and flick down. Move your crosshair to the top right position, flick to the head, and so on. You can do this clockwise and counterclockwise 2 times each. Repeat this from 5, 10, and 20 meters. Next, select 50 bots in the menu and head to the left or right side of the range. The reason for this is that your bots will appear in a narrow field of view, which simulates what you'll encounter more in a game. Doing 50 bots instead of easy, medium, or hard bots makes it so you can flick at your own pace. You can use a Vandal or a Phantom here, whichever you use normally. Wherever the bot spawns in relation to your crosshair, that is the side you'll be flicking from. Move your crosshair near the bot's head in a semi-comfortable flicking range and shoot. If the next bot spawns to the right of your crosshair, move to the left of the bot's head and flick. Repeat this for all 50 while throwing in some counter strafes. Finally, we'll switch to Sage and do some peek shots using her wall as cover. First, put the wall on the left or right side with the edge in the middle of the shooting area. Select 50 bots and do 25 bots on the left and 25 on the right. Practice slicing the pie, as they call it, by counter strafing little by little until you see the bot, shoot, and then get behind cover. To warm up your spray control, head back to the target area. We'll start by shooting the target and trying to group the bullets into the inner circle. Shoot about 5 to 7 rounds before resetting your aim. Start with 10 meter sprays and then switch to 20 meters. I would do about 10 to 15 sprays each to get your recoil control feeling good. Next, select practice and pick one bot to start spraying and quickly transfer to a bot close by. Do this for about 30 seconds, alternating your spray transfers left and right. You can mix it up by throwing in a crouch here and there, since in this scenario, you'll be committing to the fight no matter what. For swiping, we can do a couple of different drills. The first thing that we can do to get used to swiping is practicing 180s. Head over to these 2 metal columns on the right. Stand in the middle and practice swiping your mouse quickly while trying to hit the column. You can micro adjust if you get close. Practice swiping left and right. You don't have to spend too much time here, just get the feeling down. Next, select 50 bots and hit start. Stand in the middle and now you have to react to wherever the bot spawns. You can do any number of these until you're comfortable. 25 felt pretty good for me. Finally, we have vertical aiming. This one you'll probably spend the least amount of time on, but it can still get you prepped to deal with various encounters with height as a variable. In the practice range, you can use these different spots around the range to get different elevations. This is good for when you're playing in spots like heaven or rafters on different maps. You can do 50 bots for this one or just regular practice. If you're a jet main, a great way to do this is by updrafting a few times and floating over bots while using your knives. For practice shots on areas above you, head back to the boardwalk area. You can start with your crosshair at head level and flick up to higher targets. Then reset back to head level. Mix it up by burst firing the drones that are lower and flick immediately up to the higher targets. Spend about 30 seconds to a minute on this and now you're ready to head into a deathmatch. This warm up from start to finish took me about 11.5 minutes. Mileage here will vary depending on how much time you have for a warm up and how much time you want to spend on a specific aim mechanic. I'd recommend doing 1 or 2 death matches before entering a real match. You want to get used to fighting against real players and you can get a lot of reps here. Work on various things in DM like a specific gun, area of the map, mock attacking or defending a certain site, etc. Sometimes I play 1 DM if I'm feeling good, and other times I'll do 2. Depends on how you're feeling and how much time you need or have to get warmed up. Overall, you want to tailor the warm up to your specific needs. If you are finding that you're having trouble with one of these pillars of aiming, or you just want to work on something more specific, spend a little bit extra time working on it in your warm up. That's going to be it for me. If you're interested in some of the sources that I use in this video, I'll link them in the description below. If you enjoyed the video, consider dropping a like. It does really help out the channel. Before you go, consider checking out one of the other guides I made here. Subscribe if you're the homie, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.